Welcome back, you fellow fantasy freaks, to Testosterone Sports, and we're about to break down the matchups. We'd like to welcome Yeastie onto the set now. Thanks for coming on, Yeastie.
There we go.
No, we like to do the fist pound here. It's one of our things because we got a lot of brotherly love going on. We're going to start off with the matchups. Jacksonville makes its way to Kansas City to face the Chiefs. Kansas City has turned their ship around a little bit, looking a lot better. Guys, so far this season in fantasy football, Larry Johnson a little bit of a bust. Does he get in the end zone in this game? Yeastie, let's start with you.
Hopefully, I'm not a Larry Johnson owner. If you want me to prognosticate whether or not he's going to get in, I'd probably say yeah. I'll say he'll get in once. I don't know about Dwayne Bowe, how he's going to keep performing. Eddie Kinnison may be back this week, so we'll have to see how he does. But yeah, I'll say LJ gets in.
Before we went on camera, we were talking a little bit about this game, and Tony Gonzalez came up. Zach, how do you like Tony Gonzalez in this matchup and then the road forward for him?
I think he's going to have to be a key part to that offense the next upcoming weeks. Although Dwayne Bowe is starting to look like a young stud that he is, but Tony Gonzalez is kind of a good outlet for Damon Heward.
Yeah.
He's a guy to look at. He can do it. So.
Yep. 165 yards through the air last week for Dwayne Bowe. He's a great pickup for you for a bye week fill-in, so check out your waiver wire. He still might be out there, and you can shoot the arrow with the bow and knock out your opponent here this coming week if you have a bye situation. On the other side of the ball, we see Jacksonville come into town. Jacksonville had a running back, Maurice Jones-Drew, or the Mojo, that helped a lot of people win last year. He hasn't been so far good this year, and I know that Yeastie, you were a guy who sold high on Maurice Jones-Drew in the offseason. Tell us a little bit about your thought process behind that and then how that's coming to life here.
Well, I didn't really see a whole lot other than a couple of big runs that he had last year. He had that one that crushed most people in the championship week in Week 16 where he almost fell over and ran for like 75 yards, and I was swearing at the TV and everything else. But so he's averaging like 3.6 a carry at the most in most other games, and he only had 200-yard games last year, so I sold high on him. If Fred Taylor goes down, though, he becomes the primary back. He just by default, he's going to become probably top 20, top 15.
Would you say that Maurice Jones-Drew is a good buy low player right now?
It depends on your depth. I mean, if you can afford to stash him for a few weeks to see how he plays out, I would get him buy low if you can. I mean, his value is not going to be any lower than it is right now, that's for sure.
So I'd personally rather have a handful of turds than anybody from the Jacksonville passing game, so we're just going to skip that part of it right now, move on to the next matchup. Two decent passing games, Arizona at St. Louis. All of a sudden, we see Mark Bulger getting benched for poor play and cracked ribs. Gus Frerotte steps into his position. How's Gus going to do, you think, Zach?
He can't do any worse than Mark Bulger. But I think the key to that offense right now is that their offensive line is just in shambles, so I don't think it really matters who they put in there at quarterback.
So we see Arizona coming into town. Do you think there's any points for the fantasy player here?
I actually picked up the Arizona defense in one of my leagues to play this week. I think
so you're so down on St. Louis's passing game and their offense in general that you think that Arizona makes a good bye week fill-in defensively?
Bye week fill-in, if you got a starting defense that is either on bye, which I think there's 4 teams on bye this week, it'd definitely be a good fill-in.
Nice.
It's not just that, their running game too. I mean, Steve Jackson's still out, and Brian Leonard's a young rookie, and I just don't see their offense doing a whole lot. They haven't done anything yet this year, so why would they start this week?
Yeastie, how do you like Brian Leonard this week?
Arizona's actually given up, I don't know the exact number of average yards per game, but Willie Parker he had less than 40 yards last week. So if you can hold Willie Parker down, then you're definitely going to hold down Brian Leonard, in my opinion. And I agree with Zach wholeheartedly about the Cardinals D racking up sacks against Gus Frerotte, and he tends to throw the ball up in the air when he gets pressured as well. So there's some picks as well out there.
And the Cardinals, they have one of the best defense players in the whole league in Adrian Wilson. So. And he'll get you sacks, he'll get you picks, and their D-line is pretty solid. So.
Adrian Wilson, definitely a studly player. Everybody in the Insanity League, watch out for mine and Jesse's player because we have Adrian Wilson and he's a stud.
How sad is this, though, that we're talking about the Arizona defense when it's Arizona and St. Louis playing against each other? I mean, it's just kind of sad. I don't know. Did you guys want to touch on the Kurt Warner, Matt Leinart thing a little bit?
Yeah, I definitely want to ask you guys about that. Yeastie, go ahead and touch on that. What's going on there?
I was going to ask you because I don't know what the hell is going on.
Well, what I've seen so far is that there's been some definite erratic play out of Matt Leinart, and so in the interest of winning, Ken Weisenhunt is bucking the trend a little bit and playing a handcuff quarterback situation. He lets Matt Leinart start, I think, and then Kurt Warner comes in, gets the team in the lead, and then Warner checks out. Leinart comes in, gets some more experience, helping to cap off their game. And in fact, in the last game, Matt Leinart came in the fourth quarter and did a really nice job quarterbacking the team at the end of the game to help bring home the victory. So to me, it's all about winning for the Cardinals, and they beat the Steelers last week.
But do you think they're going to continue doing that? Do you think anyone's
For the time being, I think they will. I'm a guy who believes in Matt Leinart, and I think that it's hard to start him right now.
But
It's hard to start Warner.
even against the Rams this week, you don't think if he starts performing well in that game, he's not going to just leave him in?
In my opinion, if Matt Leinart plays well to begin that game, then Weisenhunt will stick with the young guy because he's their future.
You don't think that hurts his psyche at all if you keep flipping him in? And
I
out?
don't. I think Matt Leinart's a pretty smart guy, and he understands that it's all about winning in the NFL. If more teams cared about winning, then I think we'd see a lot, less crazy, decisions happening.
I think one good note that happened last week for Leinart was he came in and threw that bomb right away when he came in. So, hopefully his confidence level is going to be up. He's always been a confident guy in the first place going to USC and almost winning 3 national titles. So, against the Rams, I mean, they're primed for him to roll. And if he starts and gets the hot hand, I could definitely see him going that way. If you're in a league that has team quarterback, it's definitely a good position to be in. But most leagues aren't that way, so you're kind of pissed off about Leinart and Warner coming in and vulturing some points from each other, though.
Anquan Bolden was a late scratch last weekend. Any news on that situation there, Zach? What can we expect out of Fitzgerald this week, maybe?
I think is Bolden out again this week?
Not sure yet. I think it'll probably be a
He's
game
still
time
doubtful
decision.
as of right now.
Okay.
So
Fitzgerald will probably be a really good play. He's the one solid guy that Leinart can look to throw to. And maybe even Leonard Pope if you need a bye week fill in at tight end.
Yep.
He's had a couple long catches I know of, long touchdown a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
So.
Zach opening up the sleeper bag for us. Thanks for those Cardinals defense and Leonard Pope. Make good bye week fill-ins.
Andrew James will be a good play this week.
Andrew James.
Edgerrin James.
Yeah, he should be good this weekend. St. Louis's defense not very good. Their team in shambles. They're headed the exact wrong direction that we all thought they would go. So who knew this is not your father's NFL anymore. Moving right along, the upstart Cleveland Browns. Yeastie,
that's right, baby.
Your team in the house.
That's right.
I know you love the Brown.
I broke it out
What
old
can Brown
school
do for
style.
you?
This is like, a little size too small because I used to be a little slimmer when I sported the Kozar jersey back in the day. But I said if LaDainian had a decent week, and I just had to, I was actually at least somewhat lukewarm about the Browns for once.
Dude, you're like the round mound of Brown.
Yeah, I'm like a big pile of crap sitting right here
Well,
on the
that's what
set,
you say,
so,
but the Cleveland
The-
Browns, Romeo Crennel, he's really made a difference for this team. He hasn't really brought along the defense yet, although that will happen. His offense has been working very, very well so far this year. Braylon Edwards and Kellen Mizzo Jr. doing a nice job, and Derek Anderson, with those gigantic shoes of his, has stepped in, and they've seen some winning ways happen. Now they go to New England to face the best team in the NFL and Randy Moss. And my question for you guys right now is, with 134 passer rating, is Tom Brady the best quarterback in the league? Yeastie, let's start with you.
Yeah, right now I don't see how we can't. The guy's got 3 Super Bowls. He's, he hit all 9 throws that he threw to Randy Moss on Monday night. 102 yards and 2 touchdowns to him. He can hit Wes Welker. He can hit the back out of the backfield. He spreads the ball around better than Peyton Manning does. So as a Peyton Manning owner in our league, I like to say he's the best. But at this point, Tom Brady, hands down, I think is the best quarterback.
I have Tom Brady in a tough league.
I know.
I'd have to absolutely agree. Also, he just has way too many weapons. And not only that, his offensive line, he doesn't get touched, so he's got all day to throw. So
he's surgical about his approach to throwing the ball.
And he's completing a ridiculous 79% of his passes. So
Zach, I know that similar to myself, you're a big Lawrence Maroney guy. Any stories that you might be able to share with us about having Lawrence Maroney going into the Monday night game? You need a few points out of him, and then all of a sudden Bill Belichick decides not to play his guy.
That's just typical of Belichick, I needed, I think, 8 or 9 points out of Maroney that night, and I didn't find out until right before kickoff that he wasn't playing, and there's nothing I could do about it.
Grizzle.
So, and I don't even know. I'm kind of scared, a little bit worried about this weekend, because, again, I think he's going to be a game-time decision. I have no idea what to do there. So.
And you would think that Lawrence Maroney would have a heyday against the Cleveland defense that's going to allow a lot of yards on the ground. Coincidentally, Sammy Morris has stepped in and produced at a very high level. Yeastie, what do you think? Is that going to continue for the Patriots? What's your take on that?
It's definitely going to continue this week. The Browns are 30th in the league against the rush. So, I definitely look for that to happen. Whether it's Maroney or Sammy Morris, you got to figure about 20 fantasy points out of those guys.
Or even both. You can even play both of them, I think, in that game.
Yep.
I don't know if the New England's going to come out and spread the ball around like they have been, just because they'll be able to run so easy. So, and they'll be out big right away. So.
We're definitely hoping to see Lawrence Maroney out on the field. His game-breaking ability is superb. One take that I have on this, something that you can keep an eye on, I think you should not sell low on Lawrence Maroney right now, and the reason why is because Bill Belichick knows what he has as far as a playmaker in this offense, and he wants to reserve him for the tough part of the year. All right, Lawrence Maroney is a second-year player this season. And so for a lot of these younger guys, until they get used to the rigors of the 16-game schedule, they have a hard time when Week 12 rolls around. They get nicked up. We saw this happen to Lawrence Maroney last year, and he's got such big ability that I think Bill Belichick is holding back the reins, keep his guy healthy so that when the end of the season comes along, they can pick up and have no issues running the football come playoff time. So keep your hands on Lawrence Maroney or buy low if you can. Lawrence Maroney makes a great player. Another great player in the NFL is Steve Smith. His squad, the Carolina Panthers, travel to New Orleans in a game that should be high scoring, yet Jake Delhomme dealing with a bad elbow injury, unlikely to play in this game. Well, I don't know really what to expect out of David Carr. He looked like he had a lot of rust. Yeastie, tell us what we can expect to start off in this game, Carolina at New Orleans.
Well, I think you really couldn't have a better matchup to be at home or at New Orleans on turf for Steve Smith against hopefully Jason David. I mean, the guy's been getting lit up like almost every week. So you can't really ask for a better matchup for David Carr to come in, knock off some more of that rust, and hopefully find the ball in Steve Smith's hands.
But then again, it is David Carr. You don't really know what you're going to get out of him. Last week we didn't see much, and he was getting sacked just like he did in Houston. So
I was a pretty big believer in David Carr when he was drafted. Now then we see he's unable to do anything for Houston. We all blame the offensive line. He gets let go. Matt Schaub comes in, produces all of a sudden, so that's kind of a testament that David Carr might not be that great of a quarterback.
He just hangs on to the ball way too long.
He's a little bit statuesque back there. You never really can quite tell what you're going to get out of the Panthers. It's like one week they look like they're a Super Bowl contender. The next week they can't move anything on the ground or through the air. But one bright spot has been Deshaun Foster. Tell us what you think could happen for Deshaun Foster here in this game, Zach.
This could actually be a really good – I mean, he's been solid all the way through this year. And New Orleans, I think their rush defense isn't ranked too high. So I think he should be able to break out and have another solid game that he's been having so far. Yeah. I think they'll get D'Angelo Williams in there a little bit in this game, but I think they'll be able to run pretty easy in this game. So they'll both get a decent amount of carries. So.
Yep. I love Bush. I love it like crazy. Love him like crazy. I think he's going to be great in this game. Yeastie, I know that you're coming around on the Bush. And I'd like to know what you think Reggie's going to do here in this game.
Well, with the loss of Deuce McAllister, we'll see how much they're going to feature Reggie. Aaron Stecker's probably going to snipe a few carries from him. Hopefully not too many for all the Reggie Bush owners. But I want to see him running between the tackles. I want to see him run north and south instead of east and west like he always does. And if he does that, then hopefully there'll be some holes for him because the Carolina defensive line hasn't been playing very well at all so far this year. One positive note is that he did get both the goal line looks after Deuce went out. So if you do have Aaron Stecker and you're going to plan on, throwing it in Reggie Bush's owner's face, I wouldn't really count on goal line carries because Reggie was in there last week.
So last week, Reggie Bush was all up in our face. This week, Yeastie wants to see Reggie Bush up in there again. And we'd like to see you come back after this break. So join us again. This is Testosterone Sports.